we now have a panel talk. I think one of the great things about these kinds of festivals, and particularly this one, is how students of composition can mix with the professionals and often indeed their heroes. The InMICS students have been our teachers, and the partners are here with us. We're going to hear about the Composers Lab and the experience the composers have had through it and their future in the industry. And our session is moderated by Michael Lyczek, who's one of the people behind the extraordinary Krakow Film Music Festival, leading the Composers Lab program, as well as the FMF Young Talent Award for Young Composers and the FMF Audiovisual Forum. Michael, I think, will introduce everybody who's on the panel. So I'll hand you over now to Michael.
Thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure, and I just want basically say what we want to do at this panel. We have 50 minutes. I hope that after that time you will know what the InMICS Composers Lab is, to understand it, and also that whoever you are, if you are a music supervisor, director, composer, or someone just interesting in the industry, you will see your part in the project. So how you can join us, how you can support us, how you can collaborate with us. So that's the thing, and to do that, I have our guests for today for the discussion. So right on my left, Samya Papasoff, head of international office, international film music. Film cinema music festival in Aubagne. Now it's moving to Marseille. If you don't know, so the next edition will be done in Marseille. We have two current students of the InMICS project, which is Yi-Jia Chen from Taiwan and Görkem Ağar from Turkey. We have Filip Rathé, who is a dean of the Casque and Conservatory of Ghent, and also former teacher of the InMICS project here in Ghent as well. And last but not least, we have Andy Hill, professional. I can read a lot of him. He was a former vice president of music production for Walt Disney Studios, Grammy Award-winning music supervisor, and also dean of the Film Scoring Academy of Europe in Sofia, Bulgaria. So he was also involved in the InMICS Composers Lab project in Krakow in August this year. So here we are. Before we see some highlights from some short clips from the previous editions, I would like to say a few words about the project, because I know it's from the beginning it's not very easy to understand what it's about. So InMICS Composers Lab was gathered by three film festivals or three festivals. In Belgium, it was Film Fest Ghent, which the first Composers Lab was held here in 2018. Then is the festival in Aubagne, now Marseille, so France and Poland, Krakow Film Music Festival, which I'm representing here as well. And the three festivals thought that it will be nice to have something for the composers for screen, so the students, and yeah, that's the project. So mainly that's the intensive training for students for composition for screen, and yeah, that's the Composers Lab part, which will take place in the three festivals. So we give the students. We will bring the students to the industry, and we will try to give them the first steps into industry, and just help them to reach the professional world. So just that after they finish their study, they will be ready for that. But maybe I will speak about that a bit more later. Let's move on with the clip, so it will be maybe more clearly than from my speaking.
And how was the contact with the students?
Beautiful.
Fantastic. Here today.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. I could go on for a few days.
What I've seen this time around is incredible. The privilege these students have, not only to study in the different institutions, but to meet great film directors and great composers and having the opportunity to talk to them and ask questions and get into their universe. I think it's fabulous, really. I am really impressed.
I'm already curious. And we've touched upon a lot of pragmatic stuff and inspirational stuff regarding writing music.
The young people exchanging ideas and experiences and thoughts about how to do things, why to do things, explaining the basics of my job to them so that we can create a better understanding of each other. I just love that.
I think it's imperative for film composers to work with the other elements of filmmaking, because film is a combination of a number of elements, you know, a number of disciplines, and the whole point of a director and the producer is to bring all these elements together so that the creative people can work together to form a single entity, you know, with the vision of a director.
I mean, just the fact that you're combining different cities so they get to touch upon different specialties, and also that they're able to go to the festivals and start to understand how the industry works and start to meet and develop relationship with the people they're going to work with. That's amazing.
I think it's very refreshing for the industry to know that some new composers are coming, and especially in a cultural industry such as the film industry, you need to have this fresh air, these fresh brains with new ideas and new skills as well.
And I think it's very important that composers and sound designers are actually in one class together at one point. They naturally are doing that as the years go by. And I'm here to give them the language of film, relationships of people within the business and post.
Learning about how that's working, how contracts are working, how to help oneself to get new work, the different key players in film composition, editors, music editors, sound team. It's just to have that practical experience, I think, is really important for a composer.
Yeah, so that was briefly the highlights from the previous edition. So you can also see the professionals already involved in the project. There are many more of them involved. So during the festivals, during the Composers Lab itself, we want to concentrate on the 5 main topics that I want to also mention here. There are first steps into the industry, so we just give the students the opportunity also during the festivals to meet the industry, to do networking, to meet people, just to be in the place where they can speak about their futures and future projects maybe. Artistic collaboration between composers, directors, sound designers, and editor. That's the thing that we're doing in Urbane also. Now we must say the third character, the meetings with matchmaking sessions with the directors, young directors, giving them opportunity to work already in some project during their study, but also recording music for audiovisual projects. In Krakow, we did recording sessions for the students for their music, so they also have the opportunity to see how it looks to record their own music, how to prepare for the recording session, and also have the results from that to use that in their projects, in their study or other things. We also want to concentrate on innovations, composing for new visual media. New technologies influences the world, so 3D music, surround, sound, etc. So we are also doing workshops on that, and the industry today. So we also want to keep them updated and speak about what's going on in the industry. So the hot topics, etc. So yeah, but I'm speaking very quite general things. Maybe to speak about more concrete, we have now the second group of the students, and to understand what the InMICS Composers Lab is, we also need to mention InMICS program, because it's a very connected. So we don't select the students for the InMICS Composers Lab program ourselves. We bring the students from the InMICS project, which is the International Master in Composition for Screen, which is another project also co-founded by Creative Europe and Erasmus Plus, I think. So there is 2 years degree, and there is a collaboration between 4 universities. So Conservatory Bologna, Casques and Conservatory in Ghent here, National Conservatory of Music and Dance of Lyon, and University de Montreal. And each of the students have the opportunity to study on the 2 university they are choosing, because each university have their own specific specialization. So we will speak about that later on. So the students are studying at the university, doing their master degree, so 2 years study, and during this master degree they are coming to these 3 festivals I mentioned at the beginning for the Composers Lab program. So that's basically it. Now we have so the first group is already graduated, and now we have the second group of the students. We have 11 students. We have them here. We have them on stage. We have them on the public. So it's nice to have you here. They are a very international group, very talented. They will speak for themselves in a minute. But yes, and there will be, of course, another application open in a few months for the next academic year, for the next edition of the master degree. So if anyone is considering, just follow us on the Facebook or check the website, and it will be there. But now giving the floor to Samya, if you could speak about how the project start, how the Composers Lab start, and why is it actually established anyway.
Sure. Hello. So I am from the Music and Cinema International Film Festival of Aubagne, which is now in Marseille, starting next edition. This is why it was a bit confusing at the beginning, maybe. We are part, our festivals, such as Film Fest Ghent, InMICS the degree from the beginning. So we were professional partners in the constructions of the curriculum during the InMICS organization of the master's degree, and as professional partners we had really like a space in bringing the students to meeting with the industry. This really was the beginning of the InMICS Composers Lab. We decided, such as partners already together with Film Fest Ghent, to like build something that could be like a sort of path for the students and to bring them directly to meet with industry producers, directors, which was for us the most difficult part, such as students into their own academy and like they're like learning how to become the next composers. But the most difficult part for them is to meet with people and with the future person they will be maybe working with. So we really wanted to use our skills and our strengths by having industry coming to our festivals to be able to open this to those students. So it was sort of normal to start working on the InMICS Composers Lab, and because we were already each of us Marseille and Film Fest Ghent partner with FMF, it was just a logical decision to work the three of us and to create this path. Also because we both the three of our festival has really different like specific acts on music for film, but at the same time we are really related, and we work very well all together, I think. So we created InMICS Composers Lab by opening our festivals and all the industry events that we are actually doing in our manifestation for the students. It really started like this. It was also a question of like timing. It was perfect because Ghent is in October, Marseille is in April, and FMF is in May. So we could really do going with the academic year of the students. Well, we could welcome them in different phase of of what they learn in school and bring them to meet person in our festivals, and also, as you saw a little bit in the clip, attend different workshops and different panels and meet people for the industry. So it started like this, and it has been like for 4 years now, and it's kind of I think really working well. So we're happy to be here and explaining it.
Yeah, and to know about that more, we can ask Yi-Jia, why do you choose this program? Why do you apply for it? Yeah, what is your way to the InMICS, and how do you enjoy InMICS Composers Lab already? Because you were in Obain, you were in Krakow, and now here Ghent. Yeah, so please.
Okay. For me, I really enjoy this program, and because I study music and movement in my bachelor, so apparently there are a lot of movements in the film. So I told myself I'm gonna do this, and because first year I study in Ghent, and there are many opportunities for working with the animation students, and because I love to watch the animations, so I'm really happy to do this. And this year I study in Lyon, and our teacher are quite strict, so I really love him. The way that he really trained us, it's really professional. Yes, and the coincidence is we both have the same institutes. Yeah, for these 2 years. And for the festival, for me, because I feel really small for this industry. So when I participate this festival, I'm really have a lot of opportunities for watching this all kind of events. And for me, the important thing is because we have 11 students, and of course the master class is really amazing. But the important thing is during this festival, we really can share our experience for institute. Yeah, the working process and the study. So I'm really happy to have this.
Yeah, I think it's also very worth to mention that the festivals are also the opportunity for the students to be together for the moment, because they are splitted for this 4 universities. So that's the moment for them also to share and also different backgrounds, because there are some lectures that they are joining together remotely, but usually they are just have the opportunity to meet at the Composers Lab part. But do you have any special memory from the previous festivals? Any special events that you enjoyed the most, or you were surprised of, or you take them the most from it? Do you remember anything like this?
Because at the beginning, I really don't know how to pitch myself, the pitching things for the composer. Yeah, so I learned a lot, like really opened my eyes, and because I'm quite shy, so I don't know how to express myself. Yeah, but the teacher or the master class like really give me a lot of experience. Yeah, to have this.
Okay, it's good. Thank you. And Görkem, the same for you. What's your approach, and where are you coming from, and how do you see the project? If you can describe a bit of it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Görkem. As part of InMICS program, I've studied last year in Ghent, in Castres, and this year I'm in Lyon. Yeah, for me, as you say, those topics in Composers Lab are really great to prepare ourselves to the real world. So we are actually doing the preparation for real world. We can try different things and learn a lot from these activities that we are attending. And especially for me, I think we are all aware of that this is a lifelong process. So keeping our motivation is, as composers, are sometimes hard. And meeting in this kind of organizations, meeting with other people from the industry and meeting from other composers, really keeping my motivation high to continue this journey. And from the other people working in this industry, we were able to get really personal and valuable, insightful feedback from our writing to our business portfolio to how to present ourselves. I think that was also really crucial.
I heard also your one of the short film that you write music for is selected for the Film Fest Ghent. Could you maybe say something about it? How was it?
Yeah, thanks to the program. Also, we had some chances to collaborate with directors, and me and other InMICS students, we scored a movie which has been screened in this program and run for the competition for Belgian student shorts. And it was our first movie, so it was the experience that we'll never forget.
Thank you. And so now moving to the academic part more, Filip, we know already that the project was established to maybe help the traditional academic education to catch up the modern world and needed that the students will have. How does it look from your perspective? How is it on the different universities? How is it to combine the international degree in 4 different countries with different regulations, different people? I know we can speak about it for long, but just
I was going to say, do you really want to know? No, what I think it started like 6 years ago. I'm a composer, but not a film composer. But my colleagues say that maybe the real new music was always going to be now in film now and not outside of the film. So the real inventions and the new novelties are there. So as a different schools, we thought that it would be nice to share experiences and collaborate. We thought it's going to be simple. We're going to have many students, and we let them move 1 semester for in each school and everything. But then we started to see that, for example, all the calendars are different in the schools and the ECTS points are different. And moving for each semester would be very expensive. So we finally decided we would choose 2 schools out of 4. It was a process of 2 years in which we got to know each other. So collaboration is possible, apparently. So it was a good experience, and I'm really happy to hear Yi-Jia and Görkem that they also enjoy it. And from the start, of course, as you also already told, the idea was to collaborate from an academic perspective as a high school or a university, together with the professional field, with film festivals. I think there was also Cineteca in Bologna, and then you joined us afterwards. So yeah, I don't think I have to go into the details. Maybe the thing is we try to differentiate the schools. Of course, everybody wanted to do everything, but I think in Lyon is mainly focusing on the real film scoring for a large orchestra. In Ghent, since we have in Ghent also in the Kasken Conservatory a film and animation film department, so we try to establish this collaboration with so our focus is on video and animation and music theater as a secondary subject. Bologna though has a focus more on electronic music, which is the main thing. And very special, I think at least it was new to me, is that in Montreal they focus on games, music for games. So the idea is that when the student comes in the first year, the secondary subject prepares for the next school, and the opposite, when they come to the next school, the secondary subject is a kind of continuation, so that they have at least two different focuses. This is the idea. Of course, we would have hoped to have everybody together a lot of times, but financially and ecologically, it wouldn't be so kind to move every week. So the collective courses are online. I remember we were looking for a system for months and months, and now with Corona, everybody starts to find Zoom in 1 second. So we were a little bit, it would be more easy. Now it's normal. So this is it, I think, mainly. Did I forget something?
Yeah, I will ask again one thing, but it's also, I think, important to notice that as the universities are specialized in the different way, the students are also different in that meaning. So there are students interested in really doing the music for games, and they are more interested in some of them in animations or feature film, etc. But I'm curious about your opinion, and as you're following the project for a few years already, how do you see the results of the Composers Lab that are happening on the festivals? How that influence the students? How do you see it helps them or not? How is it different from the what are you doing during the regular academic education?
I think, Michael, I haven't attended many labs myself. I was in Aubagne once.
I know.
I couldn't go to Krakow, which was a pity. But I think that's what they say. I mean, as a school, first of all, you don't have the means to get the international composers there to give masterclasses. So this is a great opportunity that when the festivals are there and the international business composers, directors are there, that they can attend, make the contacts and get these masterclasses. I remember the ones in Aubagne. So this is what a school cannot do. I mean, we would love to, but it's not possible. So this is, I think, the main extra from our part, and I think that's also how you experience it, I hope.
Okay, thank you. So we are moving to Andy, who was doing a masterclass on pitching in Krakow this year. Yeah, so I'm curious from your perspective as a professional, also long experience in the industry, in the education and professional world. How do you like the students? How do you could describe them, and how do you know? How do you feel about the project itself?
Sure. No, I should say first that I'm not officially part of the InMICS team. I'm here because I had the pleasure of working with these marvelous composers in Krakow and teaching them something about how to pitch. In other words, how to sell themselves, which is something that artists want to do about as much as they want to make love to a porcupine. It's not much fun, right? Because we're all, most of us at least, are naturally a little bit shy. So it was very interesting to see. We did some role-playing exercises and so forth, created an imaginary film for which they were pitching, and each one came forward and said why they would be uniquely good for that project. But I've been teaching film composers since about 2003. I came into teaching from the industry, directly from the industry, and I've never entirely left the industry behind or thought that I should, because ultimately the students we're teaching, for the most part, they're not interested in teaching or in being scholars or musicologists. They want to score. They want to work in the industry. So we can never be very far divorced from that behemoth, that giant thing that we call the entertainment industry. And everybody knows that the film industry and all of its subsets, here we're talking about music, is something that has a big jagged line right through its heart. It's this kind of unholy marriage of art and commerce. And most people, and many academics I know, look at that sort of from the negative side. Well, if you're going to work in that industry, you're going to have to make these terrible compromises with your art. If you're going to work in that industry, you might have to work with some unpleasant people. Harvey Weinstein, to name one example. And I think a lot of that negative prejudice comes from the fact that many people who are teaching the creation of music for media have never actually worked out there themselves. So they have a pretty jaundiced view of what it's like. I will tell you that some of the most beautiful, sincere, earnest, passionate people I've known in my life are people who work in what we call the entertainment industry. I've also met some jerks, a few. But in general, I love these people. They're show business people. They're the same sort of people you would meet if you worked in musical theater. And I don't see it from the negative side. What I see, like these two young composers here, what they're going to do if they're successful in their studies is they're going to bring art to the public. In fact, film music that's created for films, and these days some very good television, as well as for interactive media and so forth, it may actually be the purest form of art that the ordinary person out there who's paying their €8 or €10 or dollars or whatever to see a movie, it may be the purest form of art they experience. Go to see the new Bond film. And yes, the making of that film was a product of committee in many ways. It's a very commercial product and so forth. But the music within the film and the music within many of the big movies we see is really quite pure in many ways. It has to be, because the music is the thing that has to reach directly into the emotional center. So that's what I try to teach, and I think that's what InMICS is trying to teach as well. There's a big demand for this now, and I was associated with the first program to offer a full 2-year terminal degree in music composition for the screen, and that was 2006, and it's only increased since then. There are now, where there used to be just 3 or 4 major programs training media composers, they're in the dozens, basically. But this is a very exciting program because of the fact that you're utilizing multiple universities. The students are moving around from place to place. They're beginning to experience a bit of the life that they're going to have as professionals. And I think you're really doing a favor for them by exposing them to that sort of thing. So it's a pleasure for me to contribute whatever I can to the program.
Thank you. That's the thing. We are trying to find the best way to give the students opportunity to have successful career after they study. But I think it's also good if we go more into details what is in the program actually of each Composers Lab edition. So Samya, if you could say us a bit more about what was happened in Aubagne this year, last year remotely, what was in the plan?
Yes, so we are trying to follow a bit the 5 keystones that Michael presented at the beginning of this panel. We of course have some master classes on how to present oneself and pitching, which is what Görkem and Yi-Jia mentioned, because we think as a beginning it's a very important topic to make. But we also use, for instance, in our festival, there's we are focusing on the young cinematographic creation and the relation between music and image, which brings us for each film in competition to bring over the director and the composer to present the film. So we really try to have focus master classes just for the 11 students between this duo of director and composer to come and present what they do and how they have been working together. We try to have duos that have been working for several films, but also sometimes more recent collaboration. Of course, they had the chance this year to meet with Florencia Di Concilio, for example, who came and presented her work on Calamity, but also on the previous films and TV series or project that she has been working on. The idea is really to because it's only on the professional and the students, it's really to be honest and to say what is more easy, but also what could be more difficult. The guests of honors that we have are also always invited to meet with them, which is sometimes great opportunities for the student, such as Howard Shore, who came, was supposed to come in person, but Corona came in, so he was very nice to meet with the previous group online, and we're able to do really a Q&As and like a full masterclass for a couple of hours. Actually, it was very interesting. And we also focus on meetings, so we have the group of composers meeting with some students in film. So this year, for example, Yi-Jia and Görkem was mixed with some students from La Fémis in France, from University of Aix-Marseille, as well as with Casques. And the idea is really to put them in a situation of like pitching a music that they have prepared in advance and presenting this music to the film students. And if this is working well, they might be the composers for the film, the student film that will be graduating the film students. So this is like very interesting possibilities, because it's a first match with some young filmmakers as well that will become the filmmakers of tomorrow. And we also try to do the same thing but with professionals. So in Aubagne they were able to come as observers to what we call the International Market for Film Music Composition, which brings some duos of producers and directors working already together on the production, and who are still looking for a composer. So in Aubagne they came as observers to see how the composer were pitching the music to those directors looking for real composers for their film. And because this market also is working off the walls, we are organizing it here in Ghent, so they will participate to this market, but as the professional composers to pitch music for filmmakers who are really looking for composers. So everything, and this is what we do in Marseille and Aubagne, but it's the same for Krakow and for Ghent. It's really to use the guests that we have and have them meet with the students in a more personal way and like more focus group and not only like just listening to a music like a lesson or something with a lot of people. It's really the idea to bring them to meet more one-on-one, and this is really what we try to do. And I think if I can just mention the idea also to have the student composers come to every festival is also to be able to join like networking events, and sometimes it brings new well, it's always better. I think we all agree that when we're able to meet person in real, it can bring to like a more personal meeting. So we really try to do this and bring the students to all those different networking events that we organize like this. And
yeah, to mention just a few more, what happened in Krakow, for example, we give the closed meetings with Martin Phipps, for example, or Sonia Belusova and Jenna Ostinelli from The Witcher series, or Marcin Przybyłowicz from The Witcher game. We organized the recording session with small ensemble, which was not for each student successful, but they can learn why isn't not successful sometimes, and what's more. And we also did the ambisonic workshops and mastering for mixing for the headphones. So different things, and what we also trying to have with the between the festivals is that we start to give them like basics for the pitching, etc. In August this year, and now here in Ghent they will be putting in the real situation where they then have to do the pitch themselves with the professionals. So we are trying to going step by step with these programs, and at the end of the project they will also be presented. So we also, as the festivals, have the opportunity to promote this composers. And yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if any of you want to say something more. Anything come to your mind that we missed? So I think we can give the floor for the questions if there are any. So feel free to raise your hands if there are any questions. Yeah, I know it's not the most hot topics in the schedule today.
Does anyone ask, how do I apply?
Yeah.
Hello. Already established professionals, so.
Yeah, but we have actually, if I see correctly, if it's one of the students. So go ahead, Simon.
This is a question for Görkem.
Oh.
And I was curious about how do you manage to be such an inspired composer and such an handsome man at the same time?
Do you want me to answer that later tonight?
Okay. Maybe, okay. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that has become a hot topic now. We will not go to that direction.
I will say one more thing,
yeah.
Michael. I've been in this business and as a teacher as well for quite a long time, and you don't have to go back very far. This is 2021. I would say right at the turn of the century, if you stopped a successful film or television composer on the street and ask them what the value of having a formal education, a degree in the field was, they would say this. Because at that time, it was really believed that this was an unusual enough craft that it could only be learned through experience, through trial and error. Jerry Goldsmith famously said it couldn't be taught. And And the first few programs that were launched to try and train media composers had a very hard time creating curricula that would really do anything for them in terms of making them ready for the realities of the business. That's all changed now, just as most directors now come out of film schools, most editors, cinematographers, costume designers, actors. Almost all of these people have, if not advanced degrees, they certainly have some sort of degree in their field. And people with education, human beings are sort of a choosy lot of people, and people with education, people with degrees, like to work with other people with similar experience and similar levels of education. So now I think if you stop a composer on the street and ask him or her what the value of having this sort of training is, their answer would more likely be, well, it was good for me. So it has changed a lot. The generation of composers I worked with when I was in Hollywood, for the most part, had never studied composition for film or television. Now, most of them have.
It looks like we have a real question now, so let's check.
Yeah, I got a question concerning that, because I'm a film student, but I'm a piano composer in my spare time. But I want to become a film composer, but I'm at the end of my university studies, and I wonder if is it possible to apply for something like this without having a music studies background, because I find it difficult to find a place in this world without it. I hope the question is clear.
Yeah, but did you study the bachelor, and do you have a bachelor in any?
Yes,
genre?
in film.
In film, okay. So I don't know, Filip, if you know the answer for that?
Not really. I think the requirement is a bachelor in music, but of course, there's always exceptions to be made. So there's most of the time, I think we have like 40, 50 applications, and then we reduce it to 24, and then we give them a kind of task to fulfill, and we always end up with 12, because this is the idea. It's 3 for each school. But if you are a filmmaker and you're a musician, why wouldn't you apply? There's always things to work around, I think. I mean,
okay.
The rules are there to be broken.
Yeah, I can't speak for InMICS, and I don't want to use my host's panel to promote my own brand. I will say that in general, with the exception of places like perhaps the Royal College of Music, possibly the Thornton School at USC, and other programs that are linked to established sort of old school conservatories. With the exception of those, we're quite open. This is and I mean this in a very positive way, this is sort of a bastard art. People who are going to be great film composers are fundamentally great storytellers. They understand drama. They understand cinema. They love cinema as much as they love music. And they have this native gift for being able to take story and character and so forth and express them as music. And Danny Elfman had no formal training when he began scoring films. And I always think, if the next Danny Elfman were to show up at my door and ask for me to accept him into the Film Scoring Academy, I would absolutely say yes. So I think there are certain basic skills of technique, musicianship, and certain production skills that you wouldn't want to go into an advanced program without, because you might just feel lost really quickly. But as long as you've got those native talents, I think a school would be crazy not to let you.
That sounds very hopeful. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so we have the last one maybe because we are running out of time. I don't know how much we can.
Hi, I wanted to ask something that maybe is a reference to what Mr. Hill mentioned. My composing partner and I, sometimes we hear a lot of young composers that are very capable, and there's a lot of great music going on, but there's also something that's maybe, from a bird's eye view, we have the feeling that because of this fact that there's sort of grown up this whole industry, and also the idea of being able to get a degree in music for film, that we're kind of losing the idea that someone maybe goes through life as a musician doing every kind of gig and kind of forming a kind of music that might have its own kind of voice without having a certain school of orchestration, a certain school of, not to say cookie cutter because that sounds negative, but to say that you can kind of hear the line that everyone is kind of studying the same music, everyone's studying the same, it's almost like a loop going in and of it itself. Maybe it has to do with the democratization of everyone has a laptop and everyone thinks if I, through a pattern using a cello sound, then I know how to write for an orchestra. But I think our fear is that we're losing that idea that music can be something that's organic, that maybe that's something you can't. I would be more like Jerry Goldsmith's school. I'd be like, you can't learn it. But I know it's unpopular.
I would let Michael and his colleagues speak before the InMICS part. I would just say you're right. There are some cookie cutter schools out there. I'm not going to mention which they are. I think it's fairly evident once you begin to research. And you should avoid them. If you don't have life experience, you're not going to make much of a film composer. You're not going to be a very good storyteller. If all you know how to do is and there are many very talented mimics out there these days. You've probably heard them. People have gotten extraordinarily good at making these orchestral mock-ups that sound just like John Williams. But no, the heart is missing. It's imitative. So again, to go back to the Danny Elfman example, he and his brother Richard took off like gypsies when they were young men, no money, just bummed and busked around Europe. Created a little theatrical company and so forth, had these marvelous experiences. All of that is in his music. Without that, there wouldn't be a Danny Elfman.
True. Yeah, and I think it's also a bit unfair to just say that it's if you are on the university you don't have this experience because you already can. They are also playing in the bands, in music band. They are doing the instruments themselves. They are from different regions and folk instruments as well. So having something to say, it's something different than being at the university or not being at the university, but only being at the university and having professional training give you the opportunity to use that language. You cannot score and do a recording session for the symphonic orchestra without any music education. You cannot do that. So, Filip.
Well, Gage went to Schoenberg and he left very soon, and he scored for orchestra. Yeah. I think, but when it's about music, about literature, about cooking, about anything, the authenticity is in you, and no education will destroy it, but no education will make it either. But of course, education is just a kind of tool. And if you don't need it, I think no musician has ever been asked his diploma to be able to play in an orchestra, or to be a soloist, or to be... Are there academies for footballers? The world decides. But why not... but I don't think an academic education will destroy anything. It can only help. And if you don't need the help, well, don't go. And if you find out it's boring, leave. Exactly. It doesn't do any harm, I think. And if, of course, because sometimes they say if you become academic, not in the bad meaning of the word, but you are or you are not, I think.
Yes, and what we are trying to do actually is something special, something not really into classes only, but yeah, actually give the training and give the opportunity to show them the real world, so to be successful, not only in.
And I think that's maybe what we also worked on when we worked on the curriculum. We definitely didn't want this type of film composer, which the one who is capable of. So that's why. Even in Ghent, if you would decide, that's why we didn't call it composing for film, it's composing for screen. Could be any kind of multimedia, 17-dimensional, non-movie, but it's still a screen. So that's why we call it for screen, because it has to remain open. So I think, of course, you can decide what you want, but nobody will tell you this is what you have to do. It used to be maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago, first you have to do harmony, counterpoint, fugue, and then you were allowed to compose. But these days are long gone, I think. Right?
Yes, thank you for this question as well, and thank you for your patience, and thank you the panelists for being here and joining us, and thank you Film Fest Ghent for giving us the opportunity, especially Thomas, for organizing it. So yeah, it was a pleasure, and thank you one more time. In a few minutes, I'm sure it will be the next point of the program. Thank you.